This video is concerning challenges and then the advice that I have for you regarding those challenges. The two main challenges being common challenging thoughts that most people deal with when beginning a meditation practice, and then distractions and how to overcome them. In your book, this section is just after the finding your breath part. We begin with common challenging thoughts, and to start us off we have, I can't get my mind to shut off. This is something that I think is a big misconception with meditation, and even something I believed before I began my own meditation practice. It's like you have this idea that you're supposed to get your mind to stop doing everything and stop thinking and to shut off and be quiet. It being quieter is the plan, but getting it to shut off is not the idea. You aren't trying to get the mind to shut off simply because it can't. The mind is made to think. Its sole purpose is to think. Thoughts are very abundant in the mind because that's really all it knows how to do. So trying to get it not to do that is not the goal. The goal is to concentrate on one thing. And concentrating on this one thing, we aim to still the fluctuations of our mind, still the vrittis of the mind, which is thoughts. We try to get it from moving all over the place into one singular focus. And the aim here is to refocus on that point of concentration, the breath, mantra, affirmation, sound, whatever your choice of focal point is. You refocus on that as many times as possible, over and over and over again. And through this, it quiets the mind, brings it more from a scattered to a more focused place. That's where you're trying to get to. You're not trying to get it to shut off. Moving on to, I get uncomfortable. I get it. Sitting on the floor, sitting seated with good posture for an extended period of time is highly abnormal these days. People don't teach you how to sit properly. We don't sit on the floor. We're constantly sitting in chairs that are for extended periods of time during the day that are not good for our posture. So when you come to a meditation practice and you're expected to sit on the floor for an extended period of time in a position you're not used to, it's very uncomfortable, especially if it's something you're not used to. So how do we fix that? One, you find a position that in the beginning is very comfortable for you. You do modifications that are necessary so that the position is comfortable for you, because when it comes down to it, this practice is not supposed to be uncomfortable while you're going through it. The uncomfortable feelings will distract you from your point of concentration, so you need a position that is comfortable and not distracting. Remember, you don't have to sit in a full lotus position to meditate. Seated positions like that can be worked up to, and I do include ways to do that in this course. But begin where you find comfort, because stillness and focus are the goal, and a restless body will draw you away from there. So from the posture section of the book, pick the one that's the most comfortable, make that your starting point. And if you want to build up to positions like this, just work on them. The best thing you can do to find these positions and find more comfort here is to sit in them more and, work on the hip mobility and stuff like that. Something I hear a lot of the time is, I don't know how. And, this can be a very common deterrent from the practice of meditation. The simple fact that you don't think you know what you're doing, it's uncomfortable. And obviously you wouldn't want to do something that you think you're doing wrong, but, you learn everything through trying. And the same goes for the practice of meditation. There really isn't a specific, special way legs like this, breathing exactly like this, doing this specific style, that you have to meditate. This thought is simply, the thought of I don't know how is simply an insecurity common to the early stages of any new venture you set upon. So don't get discouraged. Consistency will bring you the progress you're looking for. And, it's pretty simple. It doesn't get much harder than that. You just have to stay consistent with the practice, and eventually it will become much more intuitive, and, you'll get the feeling that you understand what you are doing. So don't get too hung up on the thought of, I don't know how. A lot of the time when I bring out meditation to my friends and praise the practice and what it's done for me, a lot of them say, but I get bored. And yeah, so do I. Everyone does. I mean, meditation is inherently a boring practice when you compare it to the distraction-rich world that we're used to living in, phones, computers, TV. Like, there's constant stimulation all the time, all day. So when you sit down and just try to turn your attention inward, inside yourself, it's going to feel boring in the start. But, start with short sessions. I recommend around 5 to 10 minutes, and then slowly over time, increase those sessions. When it becomes easier and you don't get those ideas, in your head, I'm bored all the time. There does come a time when that stops happening. It still happens to me every once in a while, but you do get eventually to move past that idea that that's all you're doing, and that you're doing something much more beneficial than just sitting there. What do you do when you're just like, I can't stay consistent? We've all been there, especially when beginning a meditation practice. It's so easy to miss a day, and then you get down on yourself for missing a day. But what's important, in my opinion, is that you hold yourself accountable in these situations. If you can make a promise to yourself to do it, and then, you follow through with that promise, it makes it a much easier action to consistently repeat. And other than that, it's also super important to be forgiving of yourself. Don't beat yourself up about missing a practice or skipping a day here or there. Move on to the next day. Try again. Consistency, again, I just got to repeat, it comes with time, and it comes with, repetition. And the more you stay consistent, the more you're following through on those promises and forgiving of yourself when you miss a day, the more this practice will become ingrained into your life, and something, you'll find yourself in the future not saying, I can't stay consistent. Another really common problem I hear all the time is, I don't have time. And everyone's situation is different, but there should always be time in the day, even if it's just a few minutes, that you can allocate to the practice of meditation. Everybody has different schedules. Some people are super busy. Some people have, mornings, time at night. Some people work crazy shifts, but there's always going to be, even if it's, 5 minutes here or there, you can always find a little piece of the day to spend with yourself, looking inside yourself. It's one of the most important things. You can definitely trade in some time in your day spent on social media, watching TV, etc., to spend with yourself. And believe you me, you will be thankful down the line that you made that trade. So what about distractions, and what are some ways we can overcome them? So unfortunately, distractions are a highly inevitable and unavoidable part of meditation. Any and everything will feel like it's preventing you from focusing sometimes, from the body, from noises in your vicinity and outside your vicinity, random thoughts, feelings, everything along those lines. The simple fact is your mind is stubborn and it doesn't react well to being controlled. So some days this will be worse than others. But what's important is how you approach dealing with distractions, and they don't allow them to discourage you from your practice. Their presence does not mean you are doing anything wrong. Everyone deals with distractions. Remember your point of concentration, refocus on that, and slowly distractions, they do fade a little. There is points where you won't even realize this stuff that's going on around you. So it is possible to not be completely distracted by these things all the time. An effective method I learned from my meditation teacher, Kelly Smith, for dealing with distractions is recognize, relax, release, and return. So recognize that you are distracted and what that distraction is. Relax and don't let frustration become another one of your distractions. Release that distraction from your mind and then return to your point of concentration. This is a highly effective 4-step method for dealing with pretty much any type of distractions. And the focal point of it being to move from recognition into refocusing on your focal point of meditation. Fortunately, some distractions are under your control outside the mind, like a comfortable position for the body to receive little to no distractions, aches and pains from your posture. A blanket can be a nice addition as well. It often brings a sense of warmth and a sense of security from, wrapping something around you. It can feel really good. A quiet space that prevents a lot of excess noise pollution, and distractions to the ears, and also the way that you treat yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously. Be kind to yourself and approach the practice with a light and joyful attitude. And in this way you prevent a lot of negative emotions that can be distracting to the practice of meditation, and to your mindset in general. These are just the most common issues I find a lot of people deal with, including myself, when it comes to meditation. These are the main challenging thoughts, and this is definitely the way that I tend to deal with distractions. So I hope this information really, dissuades a lot of your fears and answers a lot of the questions you have when it comes to these issues.